If you're comfortable with everything we've covered so far, you can go ahead and skip this video. What we're going to do in this video is basically just review everything we have so far and review all of the different principles or features of Redux. So first, what we have here is a bunch of action creators. What action creators are they create actions. They return different actions, and actions are just object representations of different events that can occur in your application. So our application has 5 different events inside of it that can change the state of our Redux store. So we can have a add to do action, remove to do, toggle to do, add goal, and remove goal. And by making each one of those representative as an object, what we can do is we can add any different properties to that object which go along with the specific action that is occurring. So for example, when we add a new to-do item, we dispatch an add to do action, which has the type of add to do, and then we can pass along the specific to-do item itself as a property on that action or on that object. So once we have our actions, we also need to set up reducers. And what reducers are responsible for is they take in the current state of that specific section of our store. So this to-dos reducer is going to take in the to-dos portion of our state, and also it's going to take in the specific action which occurred, or the specific action which was dispatched. And then what we do is we basically say, hey, depending on whatever action that was, let's go ahead and update the state, or let's go ahead and return a brand new state based off of that action. So if the action that was dispatched was the add to do action, then what we do is the new state for our to-do section of our state is going to be whatever state.concat returns us, adding on that brand new action. So we also have different action types here. We can remove a to-do item, which we'll use filter, and then we can also toggle a to-do item. And it's important to know here that we can't modify the state directly because, again, reducers need to be pure functions, meaning they can't modify the state. They need to return a new copy of the state, which is why we use .concat, because that returns us a brand new array. So does .filter, and so does .map, including object assign. So we also have our goals reducer here, which is very similar to our to-dos reducer, but it handles the goals portion of our state. And then in order to actually create a store, what we do is we call redux.createStore, passing it a reducer. In our case, we have two different reducers. So what we do is we use redux.combine reducers, just as we did previously with our app function that we call the root reducer. And this returns us one single reducer that we can then pass to create store. And then what store is going to be is it's going to be an object which has 3 different properties on it: a subscribe property, a get state property, and a dispatch property. So I like to think of the store as it's responsible for 4 things. It contains the actual state of all of our application. And then we need a way to get that state, which we can use by calling get state. We need a way to be notified whenever the state changes, which is what subscribe is for. And we need a way to update the state. So whenever we want to update the state, what we do is we call store.dispatch, and what we pass dispatch is the specific action which was occurring. And again, what we've done is we've wrapped all of our actions inside of these action creators. So we invoke the action creator, which returns us the actual action object. And then what that will do is that will say, hey, it looks like we had an event occur inside of the application that needs to change the application state. So then once dispatch is called, Redux is going to go through all of our reducers. And in this case, let's say the remove to do action was invoked, which means the remove to do event occurred. So what's going to happen is Redux will go through all of our reducers. And first it'll say, okay, let's invoke the to-dos reducer to get the new to-dos portion of our state. Did, or is there any cases here that are going to update the state based off the action remove to do? There is. So then we return a brand new to-dos portion of our state by calling this line right here, state.filter. And then it goes to our next reducer and it says, is there anywhere in here where we are updating the state based off the remove to do action? There isn't. So let's go ahead and just return whatever the state previously was. So again, it's important to understand with Redux, whenever you dispatch an action, it's going to go through every single one of your reducers in order to get the new state for that specific slice of the state. So if you have a reducer like we have here with our goals that doesn't respond to the specific event that occurred or to the specific action type, then it just returns whatever the previous state was. And then what we do here, this isn't as important. We're just doing a bunch of DOM stuff to hook up our Redux store to our actual UI. And with that, that's essentially all of the foundations or all of the fundamentals of Redux. So what we're going to do from here on out is we'll cover a few more advanced topics of Redux. We'll talk about something called middleware, and then we'll look at hooking Redux up to a React application. So we'll have Redux managing our store, and then we'll have React, which is doing all of our UI work for us. But again, up until this point, if you're good so far, you really understand probably 80-90% of what Redux is all about.